Liana, what are you wearing? Well, it's very simple. I am one part Guacamelee, another part Mutant Blobs Attack. Nom, 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 nom. Why am I acting like a complete idiot? Because I'm in the very eclectic, that means messy, Sanctum Sanctorum of DrinkBox Studios, one of my favorite Toronto indie developers. Yes, behold the majesty and collectible toys. That's very exciting. So I'm here with Chris and Graham, and we're going to talk Guacamelee, one of the most awesome Metroidvania side-scroller combat games about a luchador that dies and play the game. Okay, Chris, Graham, you have created one of the most intelligent, stupid games I've ever played. So what was your thinking? Just a lot of late nights, too much caffeine, and bad diet, or was there actually, a process?
I think there was a process. I think for the dumbness side of it, we as a studio we like to joke around and we don't take ourselves too seriously. So I think that was always going to be a large part of the game, and so I think that always hung in the development process. And then the smart part of the development process is maybe we got lucky or maybe we're just smart.
What I thought was interesting, are you guys so aware that people are game literate and they know the language that, it's like, you wants the stuffs, we got the stuffs. Was that sort of deliberate, or you just didn't want to pay writers?
We have, at the studio, it's really horizontal development process. So I think a lot of stuff, lines like that, for example, we encourage everyone to put in, while they're making the game, put in a line that they think's funny. So there's actually not one person doing the lines, it's everyone tossing in their own ideas. And so obviously at the end of the day, you have to go through and say, that's not funny, or that's offensive. And then you get lines that are gold, like the one you just mentioned, and they're really funny, and you keep them in. So I think it's everyone putting their 2 cents in, and it really results in some pretty funny stuff.
Why luchadors? Like, there's the obvious, but then you sort of get into the, it's, some people could consider it parody of a culture. So where'd you draw the line there?
Sure. The idea really was put forward by our animator, Augusto, and he's from Mexico. And when we were pitching ideas for the new game, he said, hey guys, why don't we base the theme luchador style, Mexico style, Mexicana? And we weren't too sure, and then we started looking more into it, and we said, man, you know what? Luchadors are actually pretty awesome.
Yeah. So who came up with the angry goat guy?
Oh, that was Augusto. He's the one who pitched the game initially to us. He's actually from Mexico. And the Angry Goat guy, he's actually based on a real Mexican piece of folklore about a guy who can turn into a goat who lives on the outskirts of the towns. And we gave him the grumpy personality that he has.
And you just wrapped it around the Zelda trope of people breaking stuff for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's right.
One of the things I thought was cool was the really big, comedic female characters. A lot of people are afraid to do that. You went for it, and you had this really big female character as the first boss. So was that kind of, we want to stuff women into the game, or was it just, no, this is cool and this is part of, the feel of it?
Yeah, I think the female characters just naturally fit into the game. Obviously, you don't want all guys for bosses. You kind of want to make guys and girls bosses, Yeah.
And it's not guys rescuing girls fighting each other sort of thing, which is, Metroidvania, other than, Metroid was the one that sort of cracked the lid off of all of that. So did that come into the thinking?
A little bit. That's, part of the reasoning why we have the second character being a female. And also, there are female luchadors, and we want to kind of represent that a bit as well. Yeah.
Now, your villain is basically a Mexican Skeletor. Was that deliberate?
No. Oh, God.
Seriously, in terms of game mechanics, it's one of the tightest games I've ever played. There's no just grinding through enemies to get to the next part of the map. The co-op dynamic is brilliant because the less experienced platformer can actually literally float through like a bubble in the tougher parts. Was that something you planned from because I thought that was just brilliant.
When I play co-op, my partner necessarily isn't as good as me, so it's kind of nice to have that option. And we didn't want players to get stuck at certain spots and couldn't continue with whoever they're playing with, because that's terrible. So we were very conscious of it and wanted to make it very simple to drop in and out.
How important was it doing something goofy but not insulting the player's intelligence? For me, it was, of course, it's a wall jump. We all know it's a wall jump. We're going to call it a goat jump and a dashing derp derp and all that stuff. Was that sort of like...
Yeah, I think sometimes when we have the opportunity to do a wink to the person on the other side of the screen, we will. Just sort of like what you mentioned. Yeah. Goat jump.
That big full screen monster, you had a lot of moving parts for a 2D game. Was that difficult to make something that complicated that has to be flat?
I didn't make it, I don't know.
And who's got the chicken obsession?
Man, who does have the chicken obsession? I don't know. I think it just kept on becoming funnier and funnier the more we used it. It was just this ongoing joke that snowballed.
Yeah, and the first time we showed it, we just got a really positive reaction.
Did it start with we want to put chickens in the game, or did it start with we want to, shrink down Easter egg mechanic?
Oh, it started with the town felt really empty, like when we first made the town. So we're like, oh, what are we going to do to make this town feel alive? And so we put a chicken in, and then someone hooked the chicken up to a controller, and then we were playing with it, and we're like, okay, this has to be in the game.
Now, Steph, your art director, mentioned on Twitter the Guacamelee haters. What is a Guacamelee hater, and what is wrong with them?
I don't know. They're terrible people. I love the trolling. I love people being mean. I mean, I think I'm one of those people, so that's why maybe I take it.
Oh, okay. You're dishing it out.
Yeah, I'm dishing it out all the time. So receiving it, it's easy to receive. You can't troll a troll, they say.
What's your best piece of advice, or the most, the thing nobody told you when you got into this business?
I would say expect it not to be easy. Like, there's more than just making the game. There's a lot of other things you have to take into account that you're not aware of. Like, you have to make your game known, so you have to do marketing, and then there's financial stuff, and yeah, there's a lot of cursory stuff that you have to deal with when you're making games that I wasn't aware of when I first started. Yeah.
All right, so moving forward, are you guys going to stick with 2D? Are you going to move into other types of games? Are you going to do both?
We're kind of experimenting right now, trying to figure it out. Like, right now we're doing like a 3-day game jam, and some people are trying new things that we haven't tried before. So I can't really say with any certainty, but we're not trying to limit ourselves, that's for sure. Yeah.
So you're looking for the next big chicken.
The next big chicken, yeah.
Chris, Graham, I'm going to wrap now because this poncho's really freaking hot, and I think I need some tequila. You guys got tequila around, right?
Yeah.
All right. It's good for the creative process.